They didn't expect anyone to record it. They didn't expect her to stand up again. They definitely didn't expect the world to turn against them. It was supposed to be just another humiliating moment for Alina Patel. A shy, soft-spoken 17-year-old girl who had been the target of ridicule for as long as she could remember. What the bullies didn't realize was this time, the slap would echo far louder than they ever imagined. It all started in the school courtyard, during lunch break on a chilly Wednesday afternoon. The sky was gray, just like every other day in winter, but something about that day felt heavier. Alina had her books clutched tightly to her chest as she walked past the usual crowd. She'd spent the morning preparing for her biology presentation, one she was terrified to give but determined to deliver. But before she could reach the doors, she heard the sharp, unmistakable voice of Mia Lawson, the ringleader. Tall, popular, and cruel the way only someone who feeds off insecurity can be. Well, look who it is, Mia sneered, stepping into Alina's path. Miss Nobody, heading to give a speech nobody wants to hear. The crowd began to gather. Phones quietly lifted recording, whispers turned to snickers. Alina didn't reply, she never did. She had learned that staying quiet was safer. But Mia wanted a reaction. She always did. You know, Mia said, tilting her head mockingly. You'd be so much prettier if you didn't that weird scar on your cheek. What is that from, anyway? A rat bite. The laughter stung more than the words. Then, in a moment that shocked everyone, Mia raised her hand and slapped Alina across the face. The sound cracked through the courtyard like lightning. Alina stumbled back, the weight of the moment crashing into her chest. Her cheek burned, her vision blurred with tears, not from pain but humiliation. She looked up, expecting the usual indifference from the bystanders, maybe a few whispers of pity, but mostly silence. What she didn't know was that someone had live-streamed it. Within hours, the video was all over TikTok and Instagram. Not in support of Mia, but in defense of Alina. The slap became a rallying cry. People who'd never spoken to Alina were suddenly messaging her, offering kindness, support, and solidarity. Comments poured in by the thousands. This is disgusting. Alina, we see you. Stay strong. Mia needs to be expelled. It wasn't just online. The next day, students who used to ignore Alina stood beside her. A group of girls from her chemistry class walked with her to school. A boy in her English class who barely acknowledged her before sat beside her during lunch. But that was just the beginning. The video reached the local news, then national media. Alina was invited to speak on a talk show. Initially hesitant, but with her mother's hand tightly gripping hers, she agreed. I used to believe I didn't matter, she said on live television. I believed the mean things they said. But I've learned that the people who hurt others are often hurting themselves. And that doesn't make it right. No one deserves to be humiliated. No one deserves to be slapped just because they're different. Her voice trembled, but she didn't cry. She stood tall. The backlash against Mia was swift. The school was forced to launch an investigation. Mia was suspended indefinitely. Her parents made a public apology, but it rang hollow. The damage was done, not just to Alina, but to Mia's reputation, which had been built on cruelty. Meanwhile, Alina's life began to transform. She joined a youth-led anti-bullying organization. She started speaking at local schools, sharing her story with other teens who had fought invisible. She no longer wore her hair in front of her face to hide the scar, she wore it back. A quiet defiance to the world that once told her to shrink. But the real turning point came a month later. Her biology teacher nominated her for a National Youth Award for Resilience. She was flown to Washington, D.C., to accept it. On stage, looking out at a room full of students, educators, and leaders, she said, being different used to feel like a curse. Now, I know it's my strength. The world doesn't need more people who fit in. It needs people who stand up. There were tears in the audience. Her parents were in the front row, crying openly. Behind the scenes, Mia had dropped out of school. Rumors said she was seeing a counselor. But Alina didn't keep track. She didn't need to. Her story had moved past the pain. One afternoon, while walking home, a younger girl approached her, maybe 13 at most. Are you Alina? She asked. Yes, Alina replied. I just wanted to say I used to cry every day because of the way kids treated me. But after I saw your video, I stopped hiding. Alina smiled, and this time, her tears weren't from pain, but from pride. In the end, the slap meant to break her became the spark that lifted her. To anyone who wants to make the quiet ones. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. And if you've ever felt invisible, remember, the world does see you. And your story, it's not over yet. Because the bullies slapped her in public. And it was the biggest mistake they ever made.